What's going on, degenerates? It's fucking 10 to 10 in the morning and I'm bored. I'm hungry. I'm intermittent fasting right now. And of course, I'm doing my part to protect you, me, and everybody else from getting COVID-19 and stopping sports from starting up like they already should be going. Listen, people, if Asia and Europe to get their sports started, then America, do your fucking job, because the only state that I'm seeing that knows how to take care of this COVID-19 is Connecticut, and that's why I'm rocking my Yukon gear. Also, I love Yukon, and Yukon is fucking great. Um, yeah, so it's one of those days. Can't see shit with these fucking sunglasses on, so I'll take those off. Obviously, this is a pro marijuana fucking channel, so we will be smoking and getting fucking ripped. Nothing wrong with that, especially at fucking 9:30, 9:50, 10 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't matter where the fuck you are. So, I'm gonna just sit here. I'll talk a little bit about college basketball. Um, I may try and sell you on watching Out Dottered on TLC because it's just fucking hilarious. And kids that are fucking small that aren't yours are pretty cute as long as you can give them back to their parents afterwards. Because, yeah, kids are expensive and kids shit and smell. That's the good thing about watching them on TV. You can't smell them when they take a shit in their fucking pull ups or in their fucking big kid fucking underwear. Ugh, that just gives me shivers of fucking disgust. It's one thing I do not want to be involved with. Raising children. There are better people in the world to do that than me. Alright, so obviously it's sunny outside. Toronto's having some fucking fantastic weather. 40 degrees with the humidex, so it's close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And yeah, I've been out there fucking trying to lose a little bit of weight. I'm down a pound and a half from yesterday, so that's always good. Intermittent fasting is helping. Keto, the battle against keto is a losing battle right now. I think that I'm gonna break. I need a chocolate bar and I need a fucking burger bun. So chances are keto will not last any longer. But I will try and fast and obviously do some exercising. Softball hopefully will start up tomorrow. I'm supposed to receive my first individual team roster. If that happens, that will fucking put me in a great mood because I'm only down $227 from my $4,000 loss on the Amanda Nunes fight. So I am very ecstatic and hyped about that because I could actually start to fucking withdrawing money again instead of having to pay back my fucking Pinnacle account that I made that large bet. And unfortunately for me, I may do this professionally. I may do this to make a living. But the reality is, I'm not that type of bet size wager on the regular. I have no problem betting $4,000 on 40 fucking plays on a college basketball card. But on one fight where a ref has fucking control and we saw what happened, it's just left a stain and left some just absolute fucking visceral hate towards the fucking sport. So, plain and simply, I need college basketball to start so I could fucking feel like the fucking OG that I am, because right now watching NASCAR, watching these guys play golf, just isn't doing it for me. Fucking date rapists. But it is what it is. So let's let's go to the marijuana. So I got the pink sherbet right here. It's a nice full bag. I'd probably say about a half an ounce. I like to squish it in there, keep it nice and fucking moist. Keep that fucking moisture in there so it tastes fucking good and not like fucking dry ass. Even though I don't know what ass tastes like, you'd have to ask a couple guys that we know because they probably eat that shit. Me, not so much. So, nothing too crazy in the world of college basketball today or yesterday or the last couple fucking days. So these aren't going to be like earth-shattering moves, but every move makes a difference to me because it forces me to adjust my power ratings depending on if the player is an impact player or not, and then just readjusting my player projections and team projections. So I use a lot of SPSs to generate my player projections, and they've been quite accurate. Obviously they're not 100 for 100, but I would say that they're at least 75% correct usually, within a point to a point and a half of difference. Um, Obviously, the first guy that definitely caught my eye going back to school is Derek Alston. I've been on many shows before talking shit about Derek Alston, how I hate his guts and how he's a cocksucker and all that shit. But you know what? As a bettor, as a non-fanboy of college basketball, I have to look at it with an objective lens. And that objective lens is telling me this could be a Boise State team if their redshirt transfers work out the way that people are anticipating on paper. They will be the top team in the Mountain West, and let's be kind to San Diego State. They are going to be a challenging team certain nights in certain arenas, but from an on paper talent level perspective, they just don't do it. Marcus Shaver coming in from Portland, Emmanuel Koch coming in, Devonair Dutrieve coming in from Arizona. And don't forget, Max Rice is going to be a sophomore this year. I think he's going to get more minutes. And with Max Rice, this is a kid with some great size. He has the tenacity to be able to get shots off and make shots at this level. And I do think that he will be someone that gets minutes if there are injuries for Boise State. But Boise State simply goes like this. If Derek Alston can average between 18 and 20 points per game, grab 7 rebounds a game, get a couple assists, I think that this Boise State team is going to be hard to deal with. They're going to have very good size from the 2 to the 5 position. There's not going to be any size mismatches that you're going to be able to take advantage of. I think losing Robin George and Roderick Williams obviously hurt, so that's really the only hole that I see. But with ETSU transfer Mladen Armas coming in, this is a guy that I project to average 9 rebounds and almost score a double-double. At 6'10", he's going to be able to stay on the floor. He's going to be able to defend without fouling, and that's going to allow Derek Alston to be able to take advantage of matchups at the 4 spot, because let's be frank, this is a long, tall, athletic, but skinny 6'9" Derek Alston who is better suited to play at the 3. I think that at the 4, he's going to have some size and quickness matchup advantages, especially in the paint. And I do think that Coach Rice will be able to take advantage of that. I do think, however, that the X factor difference maker for this team is always going to be point guard play. Marcus Shaver Jr. has to come in. He has to be able to stay on the floor. He has to be able to get other guys involved, which he really hasn't shown a great ability to do. But from an overall on-paper talent perspective, this Boise State team is going to be a handful to deal with. And I think that with their depth pieces, even though you only figure them to run out maybe a 6 to 7 man rotation, there is opportunity. So if Armas has any injury issues or foul trouble, then you got to go to the 6'11" freshman Burke Smith or Kassan Pryor. I personally think that both of them are going to see minutes on the floor, and I think that they're both going to see minutes in a reserve situation that are going to be counted on. Boise State is in a conference with a lot of teams with a lot of size, and you just cannot run a small 4-guard lineup at every team in the conference. Against teams like Wyoming, against a team like Fresno State, you can get away with that. But against UNLV, against Colorado State, even to an extent against frickin' San Diego State, you're not going to be able to do that. So It's going to be interesting to see how it works out, how the point guard situation resolves itself, what kind of depth we see that develops behind Armis at the 5 spots. And of course, Derek Alston has to just be the senior leader of this team. He came back because he knows these guys from practicing with them on a day-to-day basis. He believes in what Coach Rice is preaching, and I think that Boise State's going to be able to reward us as bettors more often than not. This is a team that easily can, with its schedule and with my line projections, be a team that hits 60% ATS for us. So something to definitely keep your eye on. Boise State is obviously a team that is better known for its football program, but their basketball program is no slouch. So it'll be real interesting to see what happens. Obviously, you got some JUCO guys coming in, and Lucas Milner, who figures to see some time on the floor, and Najee Smith. Not really too sold on Najee Smith, but I do think that Lucas Milner will find his way onto the floor. There is a lot of young guys coming in, but that's normal for a transition year like this where you lose Alex Hobb, Justine Jessa, Marcus Dickinson, and of course Roddy Williams and Robin George. So Boise State's someone to look out for in the future. That's all. All right, let's take this mask off because it's bothering me. And I'll smoke a bong hit. This is a adult only show on YouTube, so don't really have to worry about children fucking watching this shit. It's the one annoying part about going on YouTube on your own channel, you know? It's like, fuck, I gotta go and check that thing off so my stream doesn't get taken off or fucking turned off. I swear a lot. I say a lot of fucking belligerent things, so anybody under 18 probably shouldn't be watching this. So let's smoke one because it's legal in Canada and I'm down with fucking weed, so fuck you if you don't like it. That works for me. Plan to go to sleep at like 8 o'clock tonight, so thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, man. I'm just bored. Like to hear myself speak. I would turn the camera off and stop you guys from having to look at my ugly mug, but we'll see. All right, so next guy that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so let's talk about Alabama basketball. So we all know that I'm a real Roll Tide Roll Alabama football fan. That's purely because Coach Saban is a coach. But the basketball team, now having Nate Oates as their coach, the former Buffalo coach, who runs some very fast-paced, up-tempo offense, has really attracted me to this Alabama team. We already know that Coach Oates is a great developer of recruits. Doesn't matter if you're 2, 3, 4, or 5 star, he will make something out of you if you want to make something out of yourself. And I think that he's done a fantastic job of recruiting guys to come in, fit that mold, and really step up and in. Unfortunately, this has come at the cost of someone that I believed had a lot of potential to grow into his position and be a significant dominant force in the front court for Alabama, and that's Javion Davis. So Javion Davis obviously saw the writing on the wall here for Alabama and has made the move to transfer. Perfectly understandable, especially with such a crowded front court that people aren't really paying a lot of attention to. This is the reason why Galen Smith left. This is the reason why Javion Davis is left. Javion Davis specifically is a great back to the basket for small 5 guy that can really shake the rim if you give him an opportunity. At 270 pounds, he throws his weight around and really can be a dominant force. But I think that we're going away from that type of front court performer for this Alabama front court. We're seeing the fact that they want guys that can be a little more versatile, that can have extended range, and while not necessarily having the weight and the the muscle built on. It's more about being able to be diverse and being unique in their own way. And when you look at all these guys that they brought in, that's exactly what you're going to see. When you look at a guy like Alex Reese, what do you see from Alex Reese? Alex Reese is a guy that's going to be able to stay on the floor. He's going to be able to protect the rim. He's going to be able to dish the ball a couple times, but he's going to be a solid fundamental force from all three levels, from defense, from scoring, from rebounding. And that's what you need from a guy who is a senior, who's 6'9", and that you need to be on the floor at least 70% of the game. I think that getting Jordan Bruner is a nice combination piece to Alex Reese, and that really um, the notion in Alabama fans' head, and at least in also my head, that Javion Davis would end up being the odd man out. You also have to remember that Jawan Gary and Mel Rojas Jr. both redshirted because of injuries last year, so they're coming back onto the roster, and that provides some additional depth that would make Javion Davis stagnant. So I think that we're going into a more Buffalo Bull type lineup with Alabama. I think that another aspect that played into Javion Davis's transfer is simply Alabama's one scholarship over the limit, and we're all speculating that John Petty is going to come back. So you need that scholarship spot, and you're not going to freaking release one of your freaking Canadian prospects in Josh Primo or Kean Ambrose Hilton. So shitty luck for Javion Davis, because I think that he's going to miss the beginning of a really nice run for Alabama basketball, and let's be frank, they needed it after the Avery Johnson experiment. But if John Petty comes back with Jaden Shackelford in the backcourt, that is 30 points a game easily from those two guys. Jaden Shackelford is going to become better and better. Great on-ball defender, really really easy to maneuver shot release, which I think is good. He can really twist and turn and get into the cracks into the defense, which is good for a leaner, which is good for a freaking teardropper, which is good just to get fouled and get to the free throw line where we know that he's going to be an asset. The reality is Alabama has a lot of on-paper talent, like a lot of the teams that I've spoken about in recent weeks. The question is, how are rotations going to work out? You also got to remember, when you're talking about this backcourt, this is easily a team that can run out 4 guards and 1 frontcourt player with multiple different lineups. You have Javon Quinterly coming back in from Villanova, Keon Ellis, the sharpshooter, 3-point threat from the JUCO range, and then obviously you got the Young Bucks from Canada. So Alabama obviously had to make a move if Petty's coming back, and this seemed like the most obvious best move for the program in having Javion Davis transfer. So it sucks to see him leave, but I do think that wherever he lands with 3 years of eligibility left, that he will be able to make an impact, and I will be speaking his name sometime in the future. So Alabama, real interesting team right now. They're a team that I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on in the SEC to perform well. I'll look to see what the numbers are because that is going to determine it. With so many moving new pieces and perceived impact players coming into the rotation, it just leaves for a lot of volatility when it comes to game performances. And I'd be more interested in looking at them harder when it comes to conference season and really get a good feel for them during the non-conference if we have college basketball. So, Dan, I think that college basketball players have been doing this for a long time. You know, they've been getting that money on the side. So I have no problem with Zion getting 400 grand because let's be frank, he made Duke millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. If Duke gets sanctioned or gets a postseason ban, I think it will be hilarious. But I do think that programs will just do a better job of not getting caught in the future. I think that there definitely has been a relaxed eye into enforcement of these types of situations. And I think now with the G League, um, teams are going to be more interested and more motivated to get these deals done and not have them come out into the public eye. But I think Duke's been doing it since the days of Grant Hill and Christian Laettner. So this doesn't surprise me. But as a UConn fan, um, I'm always happy to see Duke see something bad happen to Duke. So ever since that national championship game. What's going on, Christopher Hogan? How you doing, bro? Just on here, chilling, killing, talking some college ball. Not much really to talk about because obviously August 3rd is the draft deadline with about 48 or 47 underclassmen waiting to determine where they're going to go, if they're going to go anywhere. So it is what it is, though. I look forward to just being able to spend 20 hours a day watching fucking games, capping, modeling, updating my power ratings. But after a month of it, I'll change my mind on that. Couple players that I want to also talk about. Not too big of an impact, but surprising moves for me. One's surprising, one isn't. I think I need another bonk hit though. Yeah, I think that with college basketball, that's the beauty of it. There's with so many programs at the D1 level, there's just so much needed talent to come in on a yearly basis. I think that losing guys that are the best actually give someone like me more value when it comes to projections than than if they just all decide to go in the NBA. So the issue with the G League is that 200 to 500 grand that they get, um, they could probably make more money just from the exposure in college basketball. If you have a big Instagram and Twitter following with the nil coming into effect, you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money off that, probably more than the 2 to 500 grand a year. It just depends on how much you work towards getting your social media on that level. There was a volleyball player from Wisconsin, a female volleyball player, that if NIL was going into effect this year, she was projected to make $172,000. I think it was actually Nebraska, Wisconsin or Nebraska. I can't remember the exact source that I got it, that I read it at. But that's what's gonna that's what's going to challenge the G League into poaching talent. But the reality is, for me, the more 5-star guys go to the G League, the better. I want more parity in college basketball. That means more upsets. That means more individual characteristics that will lead to cashing tickets. So when I can see a team like Cal State Northridge go into NC State and beat them, because NC State doesn't have any 5-star recruits and has more even recruiting class with Northridge than they did 2 years ago. Well, that's the stuff that I look for the most. At the end of the day, as much as I am a fan of college basketball, I chose this sport because I thought it was the most beatable of the professional sports to bet on. So it just happens to be a fact that I love college basketball from a fan perspective also. I love the purity of it. I love the fact that there's so much bad decision making, succumbing to pressure, not performing when you need that performance. So that's the beauty for me for college basketball personally. And being able to make a living off of it, even though I'm not living a glamorous lifestyle or anything. I'm just not having to work for anybody else. And that's enough for me right there, you know? Give me fucking 60 to 80 grand a year and I can live fucking nicely off that. So, all right, let's go and talk some Belmont basketball. So, Belmont, an Ohio Valley juggernaut for I don't even fucking know how long. They just keep on freaking reloading, getting better, and doing big things. And I think that from a talent perspective, doesn't matter if you're a transfer, if you're a redshirt, if you were recruited initially, if you walked on, this coaching staff and this program knows how to identify talent and knows how to develop it. Unfortunately, for them, it's not going to be working out that good for them because they're going to be losing redshirt junior Nick Hopkins. Nick Hopkins was basically a six-man last year for Belmont. Coming off the bench, 5.6 points per game, couple rebounds, some good leadership, good experience within the program, and I think that losing him this year is going to be a big loss. I think that I had projected him to average about 9.5 points a game and about 4.5 rebounds, so that was a significant raise compared to his last year's production. So I think that's a big loss for Belmont and Casey Alexander. But from a personnel perspective, it is a hole that you can plug up. And that you aren't necessarily going to be at a disadvantage because of a lot of transfers when they're announced at this time in the off season are detrimental to the programs more often than not. I don't classify this as you still have your nucleus of Grayson Murphy, Nick Mazinski, and of course Adam Kunkel. I think between those three guys, you have your trio. It's just going to be a matter of what happens when those guys get into foul trouble, if one of those guys get injured, if they're not being productive and Coach Alexander wants to make a change. That's where I'm going to have that's where I'm going to miss Nick Hopkins, because when you're projecting a guy to have a 40 or 35% point increase from season to season, it plays a lot into your projection for that team's overall success. And of course, that will determine how well you do betting them. A lot of good things to like about this Belmont team. I loved how Coach Casey Alexander came in and got the best out of Tate Pearson, the walk-on 6'6" junior. I see him being able to take another step forward. I think that with him and Caleb Hollander, these are guys that are able to score the basketball, rebound the basketball, have good size, can defend multiple positions, and I think that they will be counted on that much more to plug in the hole that you're going to lose without having Nick Hopkins on the floor and in the starting lineup. I think that when you look at a guy like Ben Shepherd, he's a guy that I think that has a lot of potential to see some more minutes and to also see a little bit more production. I think that when you look at what the size of Belmont's starting guards are, it's a good change of pace to be able to bring on a guy like Ben Shepherd, who's 6'6", still has the same kind of athleticism and skill as your starting guards, obviously not as refined, but it's a good change of pace for the defense to have to adjust to playing a player who has maybe different strengths and at 3 inches or 4 inches taller provides a different element to defending. I think that this is going to be a year that Belmont has trouble with some of the top tier teams. I think that Eastern Kentucky is going to give them a run for their money. I think that Austin Peay and of course I think Murray State are going to be trouble for Belmont. But Belmont over the years has shown us they are consistent. They can rebound the basketball. They are tough inside. And as much as we view them as a high scoring team, this is a team that excels most when they are locking down their opponents and they're not having to go above 75 or 80 points. So Belmont's still going to be a team to fear, but losing Nick Hopkins it definitely doesn't help at this stage in the offseason. So as much as they're prepared for it, still is never good. The one guy that I think that has to be able to make an impact and has to challenge to play those minutes at the 4 spot is freshman Evan Bronze. I could be pronouncing his name wrong. Some people call him Even, but I'm just calling him Evans, so whatever. He's a 6'9" freshman. I think that this is a guy that has a lot of potential to come in and be impactful. I think learning from Nick Muzinski is definitely going to help. I think that he needs to put on about 15 to 20 pounds in muscle. But at the end of the day, I do think that he's going to find his way onto the floor, and he could be that guy that plays the backup 4, backup 5 spot. So, a lot of interest for me in watching Belmont this year, and also just seeing how they plug up these depth role holes that they're going to have. So. But good thing with Belmont is Casey Alexander is a fantastic coach. He showed that at Lipscomb, and I believe that he will continue to show that at Belmont for many years, with that being his alma mater. So, move on from Belmont. Back in the day, I don't know, a couple months ago when this move got announced, I said this was a stupid move. This is a guy that is not ready for professional basketball. And like I thought, he has removed his name from the NBA draft and will return to his school for his junior year. This player is Timothy Allen from Utah. Timothy Allen is a 17-7 type guy. Sophomore, really impactful player, leader on the floor. Guys really depend on him just to keep them motivated, to keep them working hard. And I think that as a leader, he's done everything and more than you asked for. He's led by example with his work ethic and how hard he works in the gym. And even with COVID-19, his teammates have still been raving about how committed, how engaged, and how successful the offseason's been due and because of his leadership. He's trying to make his guys better, and I think that not being able to really have any concrete interactions with NBA personnel really helped this decision. I think that it does not help Utah's case by losing both Gok, who's gone off to Minnesota, and Caleb Lohner, who's back at BYU. But I do think that Coach Krzyzewski has the pieces to be relevant and impactful with Timothy Allen in the lineup. When you look at guys in this lineup, you have to freaking be realistic. There's a couple spots that are available to step into, and I think that I know the guys that you got to plug in. You need a shooting guard, you need a power forward. What you have to do, let's start from the beginning. Timothy Allen at the 3 spot is the most important player. He needs to improve his 3-point shot. He needs to be an 80% free throw shooter or better with the amount that he's going to touch the ball, with the amount that the ball is going to be in his hand, and the amount of minutes that he's on the floor. 3 turnovers a game is too much. He has to be better in the moment decisions with the basketball. He has to make the fundamental passes instead of trying to get cute. I know he wants to do everything on the floor, get his guys involved, but you have Ryland Jones at the point. This is a kid that is a fantastic 3-point shooter. He's solid at getting to the rim and making his free throws, and he's no slouch at finding his teammates in spots to score the basketball. So allow him to do that. This season goes and dies with Timothy Allen. If he gets injured, Utah will plummet, and we will find betting value against them because of it. I'm not going to say with this move now that there's betting value on Utah. I would still venture to say that I will be valuing them as a team that I look to find spots to bet against. Hold on one second. All right. So, Timothy Allen, yes, most important piece, has to cut down the turnovers, improve the 3-point shot, get the free throw shooting at a higher percentage, and just make better basketball decisions and use basketball IQ. Now, going to the two guard spot, where you could have plugged in both GAC last year, um, now you need someone else to come in. And that guy is going to be Alfonso Plummer. We know what Alfonso Plummer can do. This is a guy that can score volume buckets in a short period of time. He doesn't need to be on the floor a lot, and he makes the most of his opportunities. This is a guy that's a 42% three-point shooter, 75% from the free throw line, over 45% from the field, and I think that he is the guy that is going to step in and be that Robin to Timothy Allen being Batman for this Utah offense. I think that the shots will be coming from Rylan Jones, will be passing him the ball, and they will Alfonso Plummer will be hitting 3-point shots. I think that we will all know his name by the end of the season, and I think that he is going to step into that two-guard role and really take it and run with it. When it comes to the 4 spot, the only person I think that would fit in there now is Riley Batten. Listen, he had a solid season last year, 25 minutes a game, almost 9 points a game and 5 rebounds. That's the kind of production that you need. I project him to take a step forward this year with some more minutes. I think that you see him around 30 minutes a game, and I think that you see him get to double-digit points per game. At 6'9", he brings good size. He brings enough strength and mobility to shift and be not be a liability on defense. So I think that's the obvious choice. Obviously, you also have Mikhail Janitin, who at 6'8", with a little less experience, brings some of the same fundamentals and abilities. But either way, I think that you'll have 2 guys that will push each other in practice, push each other internally, push each other with on-court performances, and that's when you get the best of the guys when there is a little bit of pressure. Obviously, when a guy bows out and then decides that he wants to transfer because he doesn't like the internal competition, well, that's a weak beta. At the 5 spot for Utah, that is my biggest concern. I think that when you look at Brandon Carlson, this is obviously a 7-footer. This is a guy that has shown an ability at this young age to follow in the steps of past Utah big men. My issue for him is, can he stay on the floor? And that's been his Achilles heel. You know, he's got to be a 25 to 30 minute a game guy, and I just don't see it. You know, I just don't see it coming again this year. I think that the turnover issues and passing out of the paint needs to improve. I think that taking a shot and not waiting and thinking faster will help him. I think if you're taking that third dribble when you're posting up or backing someone down, you're liable to turn the ball over. And I think that he just needs to get stronger and more physical on the defensive glass. This is a guy that I think that can use his size to create more space under the rim so he can get boards. And I think that not having both GAC coming into the lineup and being able to crash the glass like he did last year is going to play a factor. So I think that the depth behind him is also quite questionable, and I worry that this could be an area that is exploited by opponents in the Pac-12. So like I said before, this is a Utah team that, although I do see some growth, still is a team that I don't want to be looking to find ways to bet on. I want to be looking to find ways to bet against. From an age point, this is just going to be a young team, and I think that they could be valuable to us as far as betting against them. So that's really all that I got to say about that. Thanks, James. Appreciate it, bro. Aside from that, not really anything else that's too significant. Couple transfers, J.J. Matthews from Arkansas State. I think that's a big loss. Kevin Holston Jr. leaving Alabama State. I think that's a bit of a loss. Good thing for Texas Tech and Chris Beard. Marco Santos Silva has finished his courses, gotten his degree from VCU, graduated early, and will be eligible for college basketball this season for Chris Beard. So that's obviously a nice little bit of news for all you Texas Tech Raider fans. But Red Raiders, excuse me. But yeah, no, it's been a little bit of quiet time now in college basketball. Looking out for a couple more recruiting decisions. Kareem Maine, the Vanier product from Quebec. Waiting to see what happens with him because August 3rd, he's going to have to either decide that he has been guaranteed that he's going to get drafted or he's going to end up hopefully at Michigan State. And then I will give Michigan State the respect that they are owed and they deserve. But right now, that's the recruiting decision that I'm most interested in. And I'm just filling up my time also, just reloading all this info on the different levels of basketball from the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics to the NGCAA to Division II. So lot of reading, a lot of projections, a lot of freaking notes to make. But that's college basketball off season for you. You know, it's not lacking stuff to do. As far as other stuff going on, tons of recruiting news as far as recruits for 2021 and 2022, but I don't even personally pay those attention at this time of the year. Um, a lot of a lot of fucking nonsense fucking writing that writers are doing talking about who's the best assistant coaches and all that shit. But the reality is for college basketball capper, that means absolutely nothing. So stuff like that is just fucking waste. I don't really give a shit about a guy until he's coming to school. If you recruit a guy for next year, that's all nice and gravy. I'll take it into consideration. But like, I'm not gonna factor it into anything that's gonna have to do with how we can make money in 2021, in 2020, 2021. But let's say that Kareem Maine ends up in Michigan State and plays with Max Christie and then Amani Bates. Chances are that doesn't happen. Chances are Amani Bates goes to the G League. Chances are Max Christie's is a one and done, and Kareem Maine is also a one and done. But I would like to see him go to Michigan State. I don't want to see him go to Syracuse. That's for sure. I'm tired of seeing Canadian ballers get fooled by Jim Boeheim into fucking saying, "Oh, I can get you the NBA." Yeah, you may get him drafted, but that's about it. So that's not really gonna fucking roast my fucking nuts. Um, what else? What else? What else? Isaiah Mike remaining in the draft. So Isaiah Mike, he's doing something that I think is good for him. I respect it, but obviously it hurts me from a betting perspective. He's leaving SMU. He's going to go play in Europe for a year and then hopefully get drafted in 2021. The fact is, he's done everything that he's had to do and could do at SMU. And as a player, he's developed and increased his production levels each year. Um, has the size, strength, and basketball IQ to play pro ball. So no reason why he shouldn't make some money a year early. But it does take away a little bit of the firepower from SMU. But now you sub in Ferron Hunt or Ethan Chargwas into the lineup. So you still have Tyson Jolly, you still have Darius McNeil, you still have a bunch of really solid players for this SMU team. But whatever, you know, we're gonna we're gonna do it up. Find those gems in the mid majors and at the Power Five level. A team that's really been doing well in my schedule analysis is Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, I'm getting pretty heavy on these guys. Projecting them to have a 20 to 23 win season right now. I do think that they're going to get production, from unpredicted spaces and players throughout this year. A lot of guys have Earl Timberlake as a 3 to 5 point per game guy, playing maybe like 25% of the minutes. I have him a little higher. I have him in the 7.5 range. So I think that Earl Timberlake's going to be really good for Miami. I think that the step forward that we're going to see from Harlan Beverly and Isaiah Wong while they compete for that starting 2 spot is going to be real interesting. And I think that as long as you have a healthy Chris Lakes and Cam McGusty, you're going to do well. From a front court perspective, Sam Wardenberg, listen, he's not the biggest guy, but he is a solid front court player that can give you double-digit points, can give you 7 rebounds a game. And with him playing alongside Rodney Miller Jr. and Cincinnati transfer redshirt sitter-outer Nizer Brooks, it gets that much better. Nizer Brooks is going to clean up the glass. He's going to fucking protect the rim. Wardenberg can go out to the 3-point line. He can go out to the perimeter a little more. It's going to be a good situation for Miami and Coach Larinaga if everyone stays healthy. That's going to be the key for them. If this Miami Hurricanes team stays healthy, watch out ACC because they are going to be knocking off some people. As far as teams in the SEC that I like, listen, one of the guys at 3-Man Weave is a big Mizzou guy, Jim Root. I like Mizzou also. I think that Mizzou has a lot of potential this year. I think that if Mizzou can get someone like Benjamin Stanley, I think that it just elevates them that much more. When you look at this Missouri team, what are they missing? What are they missing? They're missing a guy at the 3 or 4 spot that can guard somebody, that can penetrate, that can get out and run in transition and score frequently. Mitch Smith, Jeremiah Tillman, they don't do that for you. Even though you lose some inches with Benjamin Stanley, you still get a really good piece that fits in to what they do in the backcourt. And when you look at the names that they got in the backcourt with Javon Pickett and Mark Smith and Drew Smith, the Evansville transfer, don't even forget Drew Buggs, who I think is going to average close to 5 assists a game, playing as a pass-first point guard for this Missouri team. It would just seem like a good spot. Obviously, Maryland is going to be a favorite with him being a Maryland boy, being a Baltimore guy, but I think that in the Missouri roster, he would fit very well. So, Missouri's definitely going to run 5 to 7 guys, in my opinion. I think that, at most, they run an 8-man rotation if they stay healthy. And that's another key for them. A lot of these teams that I'm talking about have to stay healthy, and they weren't last year. But Missouri, even right now, they can beat you with a 4-guard lineup, They can beat you with a 4-guard lineup. They got enough guys that penetrate the rim well, that can hit free throws, and aren't going to be at a size disadvantage against most teams. All right, let's see what else is going on in my projections. I was doing a bunch of Big Sky. I like all those smaller conferences a ton more. Yeah, interesting how Eastern Washington just lost a assistant coach. Yeah, I'm looking at ways of how I'm going to attack this Weber State team. This is a team that I project to only win 6 games in conference and struggle to win 10 the whole season. So Non-conference will definitely be the time that I'm trying to find ways to bet against them. But with so many new pieces, whether it be Isaiah Brown, Dante Bassett, Ballant Moskin, just not a lot of continuity is going to exist early on in the season. That's why I see them getting a lot of their wins in conference season. So it's going to be real interesting because let's be frank, Weber State has been a um, two-man offense for a lot of years. They've relied on bringing in that breakout game score, and I just don't think that they have it this year. So, see what happens there. That's the problem with fucking the July dead period. There's so much shit that's already happened. You got to keep on staying on top of it, you know? You got to stay on top of it. Javion Davis tells ESPN he's heard from a bunch of schools. Western Kentucky would be a great spot for him to land. Jackson State or Louisiana Lafayette would be my three choices. So, I don't know. What else? All right, it's time for a bonk hit. So as you guys can see, I do have my Chelsea shirt on the back wall with my clipboard for softball and my green bag that I put my greens in. Got to have a green bag for your greens, you know? You got to have a green bag for your greens. And that's what I got. And I'm watching Big Fat American Gypsy Wedding on TLC. These gypsies are hilarious, though. They got no fucking shame. I wouldn't mind marrying a gypsy girl. That'd be pretty fun. I got an hour and a half till I could fucking eat. Wait my 16 hours. Alright. Oh shit, sorry. Got a little. I was watching some fucking gypsy mixed martial arts. The gypsy lost to a gorger, so he's disappointed. You're getting mad at your kid? Look how fat you are, bro. That's like me telling some fucking skinny guy, yo, you gotta work harder on your sport. When I fucking eat fucking 3 burgers at once. Come on. Alright. Let's see what else I could bring up with you guys. Oh, that's what I could talk about. True. So there's some recruiting classes that I've been narrowing in on for guys that I can project to actually surpass that 5.5 points per game freshman average. Usually you can expect 3 to 5 points per game from any player that is seeing minutes. But my favorite recruiting class is in the CAA. So last year we watched Elon and Marcus Sheffield specifically be very exciting to watch. This was a team that knocked off some fucking teams, cashed us some tickets, did well for us when it comes to totals. Beginning of the year, unders. Later in the year, overs. And I think that this recruiting class is going to be very evident of this. Well, starting off, we get Darius Buford. He's a 6 foot point guard. This is a guy that anticipates passes on defense. He has breakaway speed. He can dunk the ball, and he can get guys open looks, especially in corners. So for a 3-point shooting offense, great fit for a player. You want to be able to create turnovers, get out into transition, while in transition, be able to find your most suitable and prolific offensive weapon, which is your 3-point shot on this team. My next guy, Jaden Michael. This is a local guy, and I think that they're getting a guy that is just pure catch and attack. And I think that playing alongside the Hunters, he's going to be able to be quite prolific and interesting. This Elon team is definitely going to take a step back early on in the season. Obviously, when you lose a player of the caliber of Marcus Sheffield. But I do think that Zach Irvin in his sophomore year is going to be able to step up. I do think that you do have the leadership and ability of two guys coming in, Federico Poser, Ikena Ndugba from Bryant. That remains to be seen how much they play, but I still think that these are guys that will factor into the rotation somehow later on in the season. But getting back to this recruiting class, this is an Elon team that is going to still rely on that identity of being a 3-point shooting team. There's not going to be a guy taller than 6'8" that sees minutes on the floor. That's the thing with this team. And with Jaden Michael, this was a underrated grab from them. This was a surprising grab. I thought that he was going to go to a bigger school. And while he did dunk the basketball a lot more in high school, he can score in all different ways. He allows his game to come to him. He doesn't force shots. So when someone's contesting it, he's going to find his teammate. This is a guy that obsesses about his field goal percentage, and that's what you want. You want a guy that is going to be young, already thinking about being responsible with his basketball and being the best for the team. And that's what I think that you're going to get from him. As far as Michael Graham, I don't think that you're going to really see an impact from him this year. Not really too much of a diverse game. He's an inside the paint kind of guy, sweep hook type scorer. But he can handle the ball and he can limit turnovers if he gets on the floor. The one guy that I think that is not being talked about enough as far as this recruiting class is Brandon Harris. Brandon Harris is a 6'6" shooting guard. He's about 190 pounds. What this guy does is he handles the ball, and I think that like his best asset is going to be on the defensive end. He's responsible. I don't know. Hold on. Let's think about this for a second. I had him in the top 5 of all mid-major recruits. So this is a guy that just creates his own shot, gets his own shot, and his shot is his greatest weapon. What he does on the defensive end is he plugs, he closes out, he can defend and close out without fouling, and I think that is going to be significant. I think that you need a guy at his size with his confidence in his offensive and defensive game. When you're talking about a guy getting out in transition, this is the guy that you want handling the ball. This is the guy you want leading it. And your typical 1 and 2 guard aren't going to be able to stop him. He has the athleticism to cross him over. He can go left and right. Brandon Harris and Jaden Michael are the two guys that I think that make the biggest impact for this Elon basketball recruiting class. So really excited about this Elon team this year. I think that they have something going in the stylistic perspective that is just going to be very good for overs and team totals. So that's what I'm looking for. All right, as far as another recruiting class that I'm pretty high on, where's my notes on North Texas? Where the fuck is that shit? All right, so the next one I wanted to talk about is Charlotte 49ers. So Charlotte, what they've been doing is they've been playing that pack line defense now. Um, with Coach Sanchez over there, I think that this is a team that's really going to take a step forward this year, and they're bringing in a significant class that they're going to need to play minutes. That's just the reality. When you look at this Charlotte 49er team, what do you see from Charlotte? Charlotte plays fantastic defense, and they have two very good 1-2 option to get you 30 points a game in Jordan Shepard and Jameer Young. I think that the questions are what are you going to get in the front court and what are you going to get from your depth pieces? That's a fair question to ask, and I think that when you look at this Charlotte team, they're not going to really try and wow you. They're not going to try and get into a freaking high scoring bout with you. Listen, they can oblige and score 75 if they have to, but it's not the freaking route that they want to take as a team. I think that with Charlotte, what you're going to see from them is a team that really frustrates you in the first half and then allows themselves to really get locked in offensively in the second. You have a lot of pieces coming in Jerry Matos from Dayton, Marvin Cannon from Washington State, but I think that he's redshirting. Um, and then this recruiting class that I'm going to talk about in a couple minutes. I think that when you lose Amadou Bamba, you really need Milo Sapika to really step up and step into that 5 role. Draven Magnum transferred, so that didn't help. And that puts a lot of pressure on Bryce Williams, who's undersized at the 4 spot. I think that Caleb Stone Carawell, who redshirted last year, is going to come in. He's going to be able to garner some minutes and be able to produce some points on a nightly basis. But this team is going to operate as far as Shepard and Young take them. You lose Drew Edwards and his 3-point shooting ability, so that is another negative. But with this recruiting class, you got some guys coming in that are going to be useful. Jackson Threadgill is a 6'6" shooting guard who is going to be very good on defense. A lot of people are questioning his quickness, but I think that it's just a matter of what route you take to the spot you're trying to get to within the pack line defense. I think that's where he's going to play and have an easier time. I think that it's a defense, while more suffocating and difficult to beat because of the rotation, I think that works better against someone that is viewed as having less quickness. From an offensive perspective, he's a 3-point shooter. It is a very nice 3-point shot. Used to only be a spot up 3, but now he's able to use his dribbling to get some space and create that shot for himself. So as long as he's able to build off that and use it in the right circumstances, I think that he'll see a little bit of time on the floor. I don't think a lot. I think maybe a couple minutes a game, 5 to 7 minutes a game. But at this point, for him, it's more about experience and adapting to the system than it is making an overall impact right away. With Jared Garcia around the same size, just brings in a lot of more physical attributes. And I think that his transition to Conference USA will be a little more substantial. I think that defensively, he's going to be able to stand in a lot more than Threadgill. And I think that you'll see him play himself onto the floor a lot more because of that. Obviously, there is going to be some competition with Bryce Williams and Luka Vasic, but I think that if you present skills and something on the floor that they're not providing, Coach Sanchez will see that, and at least the coaching staff will see that. You'll end up seeing some minutes. I see him being able to hit that mid-range jumper. I don't think that really he should be focusing on extending his range beyond the three-point line, but he has good enough dribbling ability to get to the lane and get to the rim. So it's just a matter of him deciding how he wants to score the ball or if he wants to try and facilitate instead. But Jared Garcia definitely comes in with the right size against what you're going to go up against on a nightly basis in Conference USA. Um, Caleb Bird, listen, this is a point guard that I think still needs a little bit of development. But I do think that he has the quickness and that really good first step that can lead to a lot of good looks at the bucket and negate some of the advantages that a rim protector is going to have on that type of shot. I think that also, if he can establish his three-point shooting early on in the season, this is the type of guy with like the good off the bounce skills that can open up his own shots. So if you're afraid about guarding him, that he's going to take you to the rim and take you into the middle of the paint for a floater, well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but he's going to hit that three-point shot when you give him freaking an arm's length fucking distance to get it off. That's the problem with quick guys like this. The issue for me is, and what is going to determine if he gets on the floor, is how he defends. Can he stop the opposing point guard from turning him around, getting into the lane, and dunking on him? Can he get around? Can he get around his opponent and pick the ball out of there? That's another question. Defense is where I have my issues with his game. I don't think his size, his height, really hurts him. I think that his strength is what hurts him on the defensive end. On the offensive end, he has his quickness, so I think that takes away any disadvantage that you would think arises because of it. But listen, if you got a quick first step and you can get to the rim on guys and get into spaces in the defense, well, you're going to see time in this Charlotte 49er offense. And at the point guard spot, they're going to need some help, you know? So, um, definitely an interesting grab. But I'm projecting some good things from him, so. All right, so now we'll go to Ali Khalifa. So this is the guy that I think steps in right away and plays some backup 5 minutes. This is a guy that's a beast on the fucking defensive glass. His ability to get into position in the paint, box out, and keep guys out of his fucking comfort zone is definitely something that is highlighted heavily in every clip that you watch of him. And when you're operating a lot of pick and roll, which this is the guy that you want to be operating with it, he's not. He's good at stunting, and he doesn't get caught in the switch. So his footwork is fantastic, and that's what you need. You need good footwork in the pick and roll, so you're not fucking getting called for those fouls. And the fact that he does a good job of his touch around the rim will lead to easy buckets. They'll lead to defensive rebounds that go up for second chance opportunities. And I think that from the baseline, he's also going to be able to get that shot off. At 235, he has a lot of size and physicality, and I think that on a team that scored between 66 and 70 points a game, that's what you need. You need a guy that can really help that way. So I think that Khalifa is a guy that steps in from day one, plays backup 5 minutes, and if he does a good job at doing the things that got him recruited here in the first place, he's going to see more minutes, and we're going to see more of him throughout the season. So. All right, that's going to be it for me. I've talked a sufficient amount of time. Now I'm going to go take a nap and wait for fucking midday to come, and then that's about it. All right, thanks very much for watching, and have a great day. And watch the live betting show on Saturday. Watch the NASCAR show also, because I will make you money there. All right, take care, guys. Bye.